Hi guys, and welcome to second episode of this build, which I call Shermans and Rust. Today I'm gonna show you how to paint and weather this little Sherman tank. And here we have pictures of where we have ended last time. So as you can see, the tank is ready to get some primer, but first we need to destroy a little bit this nice surface and crisp details. First we're gonna use this acrylic putty, a very common thing you can find in stores for house renovators. The whole idea is to get rid of every hard edges and to place the putty where the sea life, salt, moss and all the dirt from the ocean gather and accumulate. And I'm gonna speed up this process a bit, so the same method and technique I used on tank turret. Okay, so this is the end of the third step of weathering. Note that the flat surfaces are without putty, and the whole tank looks like some childish attempt to make some snowy weathering using toothpaste or something like that. Since this putty is acrylic, now I use tap water to blend in some edges and to get rid of excess putty where I don't want it, and generally to smooth the surface before the next step. Okay, now the flat surfaces. Here I'm using some old Mr. Surfacer, and as you can see, initially this paste won't stick to the tank surface. I think this is due to the age of this bottle, so I use Mr. Leveling Thinner to thin it up, and as you can see now, it worked properly. So all previously untouched surfaces were given a nice coat of this surfacer, and before it dry up I use some old brush to tap the surface and make it look more dirty and uneven. And as before, I speed up this video a bit to the next step. Here, before I use Mr. Surfacer, I use side cutters to get rid of all those lamps, lamp covers, and basically all the little elements that are unnecessary in this build. Okay, here we have both Mr. Surfacer and acrylic putty, and you can notice that the putty inside the engine bay is still wet, so after it dries I'm gonna further enrich the surface with some crazy new technique I developed especially for this build, so I'm gonna experiment on this Sherman a little bit more. So now you can see the turret, and hopefully you can notice the surface. So the whole idea is to mix some metal dust with the acrylic primer and to paint the surfaces. with this very thick paste. You can notice the brown spot on the front plate and some more brown dots at the bottom of the hole. This is real dust, so I used some chemistry and activate the metal dust inside the primer surface, and it rusted like a real steel. But since there is not much dust in this mixture, this doesn't look convenient enough for me, so I've decided to stick to the surface enriching method, and after priming I'm gonna use some enamel products for rust effects. Okay, now painting. I primed the whole tank with AK 3rd generation grey primer, and then painted it with some mixture of truck primer with some addition of truck rust and other brown colors. And this very dark brown color is gonna be base for further work on this vehicle. The next layer is gonna be this almost pale white color on the vehicle. I believe this is salt from the sea. So I'm gonna use some mixture of acrylic paints from Ammo and AK. Basically those are very bright browns like new wood, buff and dust, and I'm gonna use some sponge technique and some large brush to paint some big spots of salt, and I'm gonna focus especially at those parts of the tank that I think will be above the water level. Okay, this step ends, and now you can see we have very salty looking Sherman with some additional salt layers on wheels, bogies, and you can see that the whole gun cradle was painted very bright. I thought I would call the salting done, but after looking at reference photo I've noticed that the salt layer is very thick and almost none of the brown primer can be visible through it, so I've decided to paint another layer, this time with little brush and very thick paint, almost without any thinner. And this was the last step when using acrylics. Now it's gonna be all about enamel effects. So here we have our Sherman painted with acrylics, and now I'm gonna use some streaking grimes, some rust effects, some oil brushes and oil paints. Normally I would secure the surface with some satin varnish, but having in consideration that rough structure of the surface and that metal dust, I've decided to skip it and just start with enamel rust effects. Here I used to rust products. One is very light rust wash, and the second one is streaking grime for rust effects, which is far darker than the previous one. And I try to imitate the look of the turret and the whole tank accordingly to the reference photos. The most important thing here is to leave some salt layers untouched by any other effects, so that salt would look like dried up in the sun. After applying washes, I use white spirit to blend in the flat surface and to make some streaks on the side of the turret. Having in mind the fact that the washes dries and often changes their color, I've divided my work to the sections, so after the drying of the wash I apply it again and again to achieve the effect I wanted most. So the main goal is here to achieve the very bright rust tones, like almost fresh rust. You can see that I emphasize the working on the turret because I've decided that this will be the most eye-catching detail on the tank, and most of the details of the turret will be visible. So the turret and the upper plate were given the most attention when considering weathering. The bottom of the tank is also weathered, but with, let's just say, less attention to the details, so I've decided generally to use rust effects and don't overwork myself with the bottom part of the vehicle. Okay, here is how it looks. You can clearly see the water line. This is the border between the salt level and the brown primer, and hopefully you can see the nice surface structure I achieved with the metal dust. Overall, I'm very glad and satisfied with this build so far. So now I've decided to add some sea life below the water level. So you can see I have found in my stash some weird looking grass for diorama, and I'm using some PVA glue diluted with water. So I'm gonna just moist the grass in this PVA glue and then stick it to the bottom half of the tank, just between wheels, between tracks and fenders. And now the finishing touch to blend in the grass and the rust tank. I'm gonna use some enamel slimy grime effect to, you know, to simply blend in and then make the smooth transition between the green and the brown color of this bottom part of the vehicle. And at the end I've decided to add a little bit of this green slime to the bottom part of the turret also. So here you can see the finished build so far. So you can see the surface structure which is very rich, and I think I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. So accumulated salt and dirt from the years that the tank was stuck into water. As always, at the end here are some pictures of so far finished build, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, like, you can share this video, and hopefully we are gonna see next time on the third and last episode of this build, on which I'm gonna show you how to create resin water ocean bottom diorama. So just have a look at this nice sunset with Sherman and have a nice day.